I'm here in San Francisco. I'm here with Julie Matthews. Julie is a certified autism specialist and nutritional consultant, and we are incredibly lucky to have Julie. We've had to fly all the way over here to come and get you. So Julie, today we're going to make gluten and casein-free bread.
Yes.
Which most people on a gluten and casein-free diet don't think they can even have bread.
Right.
So would you like to talk us through exactly how to get this kind of bread into our children?
Absolutely. Well, firstly, there are so many good reports and experience with parents and families and children doing a gluten-free and dairy-free diet. The one part that I've always found to be the hardest is how do you make a good tasting bread? They tend to be a little crumbly, dry.
Disgusting is what they are.
Well,
especially the ones
polite.
you pick up in the supermarkets in those plastic compressed packages.
And it's just
inedible.
it's hard when something's been prepared ahead of time and frozen, especially when it's yeast-free, to get something that's fluffy like a child or anybody really would particularly enjoy. So today I thought we would show how to bake some bread so that when you get to that point, I really find that it's worth the hour a week that it takes to bake this loaf of bread, because it makes a big difference. And then you can augment with things that you might want to buy at the store.
Okay, so what kind of ingredients have we got here before we start making it?
Absolutely. So we've got some ghee, and particularly grass-fed ghee. We've got some non-dairy milk, in this case hemp milk, and we've got some pastured eggs. And in this case, I'm going to do a mix because I feel that it's so much easier for people, especially when they're starting, is to start with a mix. You'll still get that really fresh bread experience, but you don't have to learn how to use all the different flours.
And what a relief for some parents. I mean, I would, when I first started the diet with my son, would have been very scared to pick that up because you're told you must do everything from scratch. So we have a nutritionist here telling us that we can go and buy a packet mix to make our lives easier.
Exactly.
Right.
So in this case, this is Breads from Anna. It's gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free. It's even rice-free, and it's free of all of the allergens that parents would want to be avoiding. So it's a nice. It
slightly begs the question as what is in there.
Right. There's some bean flours, some Montina flour, some other gluten-free flours that people might not be familiar with or be able to find really readily at the store sometimes. So.
Okay, so the first thing we do is?
The first thing we're going to do is put some eggs in the bowl here. So we're going to crack 3 eggs.
I'm going to crack 3 eggs.
That would be great. And in the meantime, I am just going to heat some ghee. And since it's solid, we need to slightly warm it and melt it beforehand. So I'm just going to warm it up in a saucepan. I'm not going to be really heating it. I don't want my eggs to cook or anything.
Just turning it into liquid.
Exactly.
So, and can parents just pick this up in a supermarket?
Often you can, depending on the market. Indian markets always have ghee.
Right.
So that's a place to go. Some people make it, but a lot more regular markets are starting to carry it.
Okay, so we've warmed that up, and that's turned liquid. We've got 3 eggs in a bowl.
Yep. So we're going to add this, but before, I'm just going to let this melt a tiny bit more. If you want to pour the milk, we're using some hemp milk.
Okay, so this clearly isn't real milk.
Correct.
So what's hemp milk?
So hemp milk, you could use rice milk, potato milk, hemp milk, almond milk, anything that's dairy-free. And hemp is from hemp seeds.
Okay.
So it's just a
So this is fine for our children to have?
Absolutely.
Okay, where am I pouring? In with the eggs?
That's right. Yep.
Okay. So, and what about the gluten side of it, Julie? Can you explain to parents why it would be a good idea for them to try a gluten-free diet, and if you're going to start the diet, the importance of how you have to stick to the diet?
Yes. So gluten and dairy are both very inflammatory to the digestive system, and a lot of individuals with autism really have a lot of inflammation and a lot of digestive problem, and that can create everything from opiates that make the brain kind of foggy to and can affect language and cognitive and attention and things like that, as well as the physical body and the symptoms. So we want to work on the gut, healing the gut, and the best way to do that is to start by removing those inflammatory foods, the gluten and the dairy.
And do you recommend that parents remove them both at once or one before the other?
I usually suggest removing one at a time. Makes it a little bit easier for everyone to transition and a little bit easier on the body, but I've seen people do it all different ways.
I mean, when we took my son off the milk, the casein side of it, and I saw an enormous difference. In fact, we got words from just that.
Wow.
I mean, but people have different stories of what it was like being on the diet, but a lot of parents say it doesn't work. But I feel sometimes after questioning them that possibly, and I'm not blaming them because I've really messed up the diet so many times, but if you don't do it properly, 100%, it's almost not worth doing it, isn't it? Am I right?
It is true. I don't want that to discourage anyone,
No.
but it is important to be 100% and to have that resolve at the beginning and make sure everybody, school and caregivers and everybody is on board, because a little tiny infraction does make a really big difference.
Okay, so how are we doing on this?
We're doing great. So we have our ghee now. It's just melted, and we are going to add this in here, and we're just going to beat that all together.
Okay.
And then what we'll do is we'll take this and we'll just put the mix in. Now this is yeast free, which makes it really easy because you don't have to proof the yeast or be any sort of professional baker. We're just taking the mix itself and
pouring it in. Now, why yeast free? Parents are always thinking, what's the relevance of that?
Well,
yeast is free is quite important, isn't it, with our children?
Right, right. So a couple things. One is convenience and ease. It's so much easier than proofing yeast and having to rise your bread. But from a nutritional perspective, yeast can feed the candida and other sorts of pathogenic microorganisms we're trying to get rid of. So a lot of people would be on a yeast-free diet, or people that might be sensitive or sort of allergic.
Okay, so this is yeast-free bread, gluten-free bread, casein-free bread.
Yes.
So now do we pour this in here?
Absolutely. We pour that
all
in
the
there.
whole thing?
Pour it in there. Okay.
So preparation time of this is not that long, really, is it?
No, no, it's not really. That's the one thing that's kind of nice about the mix is lots less measuring to do. So we're just going to, you know, measure out the few ingredients, mix it together, and then we're just going to put it in the oven. So we have a pan that is oiled and floured, and now
Not with gluten-free flour.
Gluten-free flour, yes, important point. And better to use not the mix that it comes in because there's other things in there. Just a little bit of maybe tapioca flour, rice flour, whatever you might have around that might be gluten-free.
And it's fairly easy to buy gluten-free flour pretty much everywhere.
Yes.
It certainly is in England anyway.
Yes, very easy. Most stores have a gluten-free section.
Yeah.
So we're going to just put this in here.
And how long are we going to cook this for, Julie?
This is going to cook almost 70 minutes.
70.
So we need to give it a little bit of time to do its thing here.
I presume that's on fairly low heat.
It is on 375.
And without the yeast, you don't have to wait for it to rise.
You don't have to wait for it to rise. You don't have to proof the yeast, and it is just so much easier.
In fact, this is so simple, and because my children are older, it's the kind of thing I could give my other son a little job to do. Could you go and make some bread for us?
Yes.
Because you're following a mix.
Absolutely, and there's no bread machine or any expensive equipment. You can just stick it right in the oven.
Well, there you have it. Should we put it in the oven?
Yes, let's do that.
So it's going in at what temperature?
375. So it should
For
be
70
set.
minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, it's time to get the bread out of the oven. So this has been 70 minutes in here. Wow, Julie, look at
Isn't that amazing?
that. And it smells absolutely amazing.
Yes, it's delicious.
It's amazing how that's risen without
Isn't
yeast.
that? I know, it's really amazing. If you have a fresh bread, I mean, look at this.
So let's try some.
Yes, please.
Oh, that looks lovely. I'm going to cut a little bit off from there. It's absolutely piping hot.
It's got a nice little kind of crusty
It
but soft on the inside.
smells absolutely wonderful. Now we might burn ourselves.
And isn't this so much different than what you get at the store?
It smells amazing. Let's taste some. That's good. You would never know that this was gluten and casein-free bread. This is absolutely delicious. Now, in England, I'm not sure that we have anything of this quality in a packet, but we'll look into that. One of the things I recommend as an autism mother is to keep something in your freezer the whole time. The amount of times when I had Billy on the special gluten and casein-free diet, and I got home with the other children, they're starving, and I mess up, I screw up the diet because I haven't got myself prepared and I haven't got the things that I need in the house. So I, as an autism mother, really recommend that in your freezer you have this. Okay, now this is made by New Life for the Americans, and the reason why this is an American show, so we can talk about this. And sadly in England we don't have this, but we can do, there's other things that I'm sure we can look up. Look, cookies, chicken nuggets, meatballs, pizzas, all sorts of things in here in little packages like that. So if you come back late, or your children are all in the state and you've got to cook them something quickly, this is gluten and casein-free food, and it's good. I've tasted it, it's delicious. Clearly, our nutritionist here would recommend you always cook things from scratch.
Oh, when you can, of course. But it is, like you said, really nice to have it on hand. If you're going to go to grandma's or something and you want to make sure that they're not going to slip off the diet, it's great to have some foods on hand like this. And all their food is tested to be very low allergen-free products.
Excellent stuff. So this is new life stuff. So just keep a box of this in your freezer. So thank you for today, Julie.
Absolutely, it was fun.
And if you want to get Julie's book and have a look at this, has got all the recipes that we've covered in this series, and especially this bread one here. So this is all in this book, and she has another book, Nourishing Hope, as well, that you can get from her website or our website. So thank you very much, Julie.
Thank you.
And we'll be back next week with some more exciting recipes. We'll be hearing from Doreen, and we'll be hearing from Shannon as well. See you next week.